with another DC Multiverse unboxing, and this is Wonder Woman. This is one I've been looking forward to for a while. I was almost worried that I wasn't going to find her, and uh, today is my birthday, by the way. I went out and got myself a cheesesteak because I was really craving a cheesesteak, and I figured my birthday cheesesteak. That makes sense, doesn't it? So, went to the mall. Went to Charlie's, got the old school cheesesteak because I'm old school, and they make that with the cheese whiz on it. Oh, so good. Got the gourmet fries with the cheese and the bacon and the ranch, and it's so delicious. And I mainly just went there to get my cheesesteak, and just on a whim, and I almost skipped it. I stopped into FYE over there, and I haven't been to FYE that often lately because their action figures have just gotten really expensive, like way more expensive than you would find them anywhere else. And indeed, this one, is about $10 more than it should have cost at retail when I bought it. But I've had such a hard time finding this figure. When I saw her sitting on a shelf, I'm like, well, I have to buy her, because literally I would look, I couldn't even find her to buy online. And I figured I'm probably not going to be able to get her at retail. It's probably I'm going to be at the mercy of the secondary market at this point. I was never able to see her for pre-order, so I'm guessing the pre-orders just sold out really quick everywhere I looked, and never saw the figure. Every time I saw her, it just said it was sold out. So I went ahead and picked her up, even though, like I said, a little pricier than usual. And this is a figure that already is a little pricier than because it's one of the collector edition ones, which means it's about $10 more than what your standard Mcfarlane figure is. And it was $10 more than that when I bought it. So you win some, you lose some. Sometimes I come on here and I tell you guys what a great deal I got on something. I was able to find this for $10 or whatever. And this is one where I'm telling you, I did not get a good deal. I paid more than I probably would have liked. But honestly, at the end of the day, I still feel like, it was a price that I didn't necessarily mind paying, because I figured even if I did find one at this point, I'd probably be paying $10 more than what I actually did pay. So in a way, yeah, I did all right. But still, I spent more than this figure probably should have cost, like all other things considered. Now, considering supply and demand and everything like that, and I couldn't find this figure anywhere else to begin with, I guess I paid a good price for it, I guess. So let's have a look at the packaging. It's the standard Mcfarlane collector edition packaging with the fancy foil and everything like that. And we can see that it's Wonder Woman. Who is Wonder Woman? Figure number 10. That's what the bottom looks like. That's probably the most boring side. There's a top. There's the other side. So, and then the back has this lovely piece of artwork by Terry Dodson. I believe it's Terry Dodson. I don't see the signature on there, but I'm pretty sure it's Terry Dodson. So he was the artist during the Who is Wonder Woman arc. This would have been during the 1 year later storyline. And like a lot of Wonder Woman arcs, it started out with some hype behind it and some excitement, and then the run just kind of peters out for whatever reason. And I think in the case of Wonder Woman, in the case of Who is Wonder Woman, it was lateness of the books. I don't remember the name of the author, but she was apparently kind of a big deal, best-selling novelist, and I guess she wasn't really, probably somebody who said, "Oh yeah, writing comic books, sure, that sounds fun. I like Wonder Woman. I'll go ahead and do that." And then it turned out it was actual work. I don't mean to cast aspersions on her or anything, but it does seem like the kind of thing, if you're a best-selling novelist, you might look at, writing a comic book as just being kind of like a lark, and then realize, oh no, wait, this is still writing, isn't it? But yeah, let's go ahead and open her up. So yeah, but I did really enjoy the artwork. The story was pretty good, I thought, but it's just ran into those lateness problems, and Then they wound up doing the reboot of Wonder Woman where she was wearing a Black Canary costume for some reason. And then they did the New 52. So there we go. And got a little plastic tray with all the figure. And I'm going to talk about this head sculpt in a little bit, because I've got some things to say about this head sculpt. we'll get into it, I assure you. And then we've got, there's the trading card and the figure stand. Unfortunately, not on a separate piece of, I mean, unfortunately, they are on a separate card, a separate bubble. I mean, but I think I was able to get her out just fine. There we go. Same piece of Terry Dodson artwork. Very nice. And then the figure stand. Every figure should come with a figure stand. Mcfarlane is usually pretty good about it, except with superpowers. Come on, guys, just throw a figure stand with the superpowers one. You can even just reuse this one. I mean, it's a little big for a superpowers, but you know, it'll still do the job. You know, you can put superpowers on that. The peg hole is the same size, so you can fit them on the peg hole. You can put superpowers on that. I'm just saying. But this is, since this is the collector edition, we do have the silver DC logo instead of the glossy black one. So we'll go ahead and set that aside for now. I'll go ahead and put the cardboard backing back into the box. Shasha. Okay, let's move on. Let's see what we have here. So she does come with a number of accessories, which I guess was how they tried to justify the fact that this is a collector edition figure. But you know, I honestly don't think it's that much of I don't think it's that much of an assortment of accessories that would justify a $10 price increase. Now, if this was a you know, a $5 price increase, then I would be all on board with it. I'd be like, well, yeah, extra $5, but you get like a lot of extra accessories, so that's pretty cool. And you know, the trading card stand. We do get the trading card stand. Usually, when I've gotten these, they've had the card already in the trading card stand, but in this case, it is not. So there's the trading card stand, silver DC logo on it. Let's go ahead and read the bio on the back of the trading card. So there's what the back looks like. You can see it looks very similar to your standard DC trading card, only again, got some fancy foil on there. So let's see. Wonder Woman. Who is Wonder Woman? Data file. Real name, Diana. Raised on a hidden island of Themyscira, Princess Diana is an Amazon and her people's gift to humanity. As Themyscira's emissary to man's world, Diana has made it her duty to lead by example. She has come to represent the possibility and potential of life without war, hate, or violence. Good thing she came with the sword and axe then. And she is the beacon of hope to all who find themselves in need. And again, this is just kind of a standard sort of general bio we get for Wonder Woman, even though it is, you know, tied in with the Who is Wonder Woman story arc. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with that. It doesn't, you know, mention how Diana hasn't been Wonder Woman in a year because she's been masquerading as Diana Prince, who is a special agent for God, was it Argus? I forget what organization it was. She had the white jumpsuit and the glasses, and she was teamed up with Nemesis. It was pretty interesting stuff. But they don't mention that on there, even though it's supposedly, the figure is definitely based off Terry Dodson's artwork. Like, you can see that he draws her emblem in an unusual way, whereas usually it's two W's stacked on top of each other, with like the third feather being in. Actually, I'll use the back of the box. I think that'll work better since it's a bigger picture. But usually it would have the third feather be one that was in between the two W's. But you can see here he's got the two W's stacked directly on top of each other, and the third feather comes underneath the second W. So he drew it in a slightly different way. You know, you might not tell at first glance. And also, he was the one who came up with the idea of making her belt into a W shape as well. But yeah, you can see that she's got that rather distinct Terry Dodson designed Wonder Woman logo on her chest. Let's get some more of these accessories out. Well, first I'll put the trading card in the figure stand, in its stand. There we go. So you can display it like that. This is one of the things that I really like about the collector edition figure. Again, I don't know if it justifies a $10 price increase, but if I saw all this stuff in there and it was just $5 more than your typical Mcfarlane figure, I would think that was a good deal. $10 is kind of pushing it. So that's why I tend to cherry pick these a little more judiciously than I do the the more standard ones. So here's her sword. Got a pretty cool design to it. It's kind of barbed at the tip. That seems kind of nasty. Got a little star on the hilt. I don't know if we can focus on that on the camera, but it's an interesting design of the hilt. It does have a vague W sort of shape to it when you turn it this way, but it does not look like her standard emblem. And then it's got a little star right there. I don't know if I can get it to focus very well because I wasn't really having much luck with that. But trust me, it's there. And a little spike at the pommel. Doesn't feel quite as flooby as they often do. Got enough rigidity to it for me anyway. So here's her shield. It's got some straps on the back. Those do seem kind of rigid. And it does have some detail to the back where it looks almost kind of like, someone hammered all this out by hand. You can see some detail around the ridges there. A big Wonder Woman symbol in the front. It's got a very, Greco-Roman sort of look to it. So that's pretty cool. And then we've got an axe. She got an axe to grind. Let's see. It might be better for me to cut through the tape there. I think that might be the easiest way to get that out. There we go. And you can see this has got some nice detail sculpted into it. And they actually bothered to paint gold around the grip of the axe. Oftentimes she'll have an axe, and I believe George Perez was the one who designed it, that's shaped like her Wonder Woman emblem. But again, this one isn't really shaped like that. It just looks like an ordinary battle axe, like you might find with like a He-Man action figure or something like that. It does look a little more ornate and has some detail sculpted into it, so it's pretty nice. And then she has an assortment of extra hands. She has 6 hands altogether. 2 of them are already on the figure, and 2 of them are here in the package. And we've got 2 of these open hands, one for the left and one for the right. They look like they're identical, except for just kind of mirror of each other. So set those aside for now. And then on her right arm, she has an open fist. On her left arm, she has a closed fist. And here is a gripping left hand and a solid fist of a right hand. So we can be swapping all those around if we want to. So I'm probably at some point going to have both of those gripping hands on her so I can have her hold both the axe and the sword at the same time. So let's dive into, well, we got one more accessory. We'll get that accessory out. And that is something that to me is refreshingly old school. And I don't just mean because it's her magic lasso. Probably the most important action figure that any Wonder Woman, or the most important accessory any Wonder Woman action figure can come with. And it's the execution of this golden lasso that intrigues me. Because instead of like a molded loop, like we often get nowadays, it is just a loop of some gold cord, like you might find in any hobby store. And that's how they used to do the magic lasso when I was a kid. Like, well, that's what the Superpowers figure came with. That's what the Mego figure came with. In fact, I remember when I was a kid with the one that came with the Superpowers, I was actually kind of disappointed with, Because like this, it's not a stretchy kind of lasso, and I think I lost it at some point. And my grandmother happened to have some gold elastic and just kind of tied it into a loop at the end, and it was better than the one that came with the figure because, like I said, it was elastic and you could kind of stretch it around the bad guys. Like she tied them up, really cool. So and it came loose at this end of the tape. I was hoping I could poke it back in, but it doesn't look like it will. I was thinking about just leaving it all taped together and hooking onto her belt, but if I can't get the thing back in, I don't know what would be the point. So let's just go ahead and take the tape off. Why don't we just go ahead and do that? Best laid plans of mice and men and all that, huh? So there we go. Nowadays, like, they get so caught up with like giving her swords and shields and axes, they tend to forget about the basic Wonder Woman weapon, the thing that, like, I think is her most iconic weapon, is that magic lasso. Because if anything, William Morton Marston would have wanted women to tie him up, and it's not even tied into a lasso. It's just kind of a little piece of cord they had in a loop. I would have liked it if they had it tied up at the end, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll it up, and let's see if we can get it to go onto her belt. We'll do that in a minute. And it just came unrolled anyway. I'm hoping that it's something where you can kind of I don't think it's going to work that way, but I'm kind of hoping that it'll be something that, like, once we get it looped up, we can kind of pinch it into the hook on her belt and it'll stay together, but probably not. So I'm probably going to have to find some way to get that lasso in such a, maybe put another piece of tape around it or something, and find a way to kind of wedge it on there. And she's got one more. She got rubber tabs around her arms and her shins, and then the dreaded double tab around her torso. And I'm trying my best not to nick her bodice while I do this, since it is like that kind of like metallic red, and that seems like it would be something really difficult to match in terms of the paint. And it is a really sharp looking design. Now, I know they did a platinum version of this where it's more in the classic comic book style. So she's got like a more sort of brighter, flatter colors, like more of a cyan for the shorts, more of just a flat red on the bodice. The belt and the emblem and the tiara are more of a flat yellow and less of a gold. And honestly, if I had both of them in front of me to pick one or the other, aesthetically, I don't know which one I would have gone with. I probably, if I had both of them in front of me at the time to choose between them, I probably would have chose the Platinum Edition just because I know it's a little more rare. But I would be happy to have either one. If this was the Platinum Edition and the more comic booky colors were the Standard Edition, I would have just picked whichever one was the Platinum Edition. I don't think I have a preference as far as how they painted her. But I will say that when I had the Superpowers figure when I was a kid, I did kind of wish that she was gold, because that was what Linda Carter had on the TV show. And I like to imagine it was kind of like armor. I guess I was ahead of the curve as far as that goes. Yeah, I've got the other Wonder Woman action figures over here that I'm going to compare. I've got 3 other ones that we're going to compare. But only one is a Mcfarlane figure. Yeah, that's intriguing, isn't it? All right, so here she is out of the package. And I got to say something about this head sculpt. And it's not that I think it's a bad head sculpt. I think it's a lovely head sculpt. I think it looks quite nice. But she looks a lot, to my eyes, like Angela White. Now, if you don't know who Angela White is, I would not recommend Googling her, because at this point, if you don't know who Angela White is, I figure you probably don't need to know who Angela White is. I'm not saying that to talk bad about the woman. I'm a fan, but she's a let's put it this way: she is an actress in independent films that you know independent films. Put it that way. Not in the mainstream, but independent, made for home viewing kind of films. She's Australian. That's something else about her. But yeah, it looks a lot like her. That's what I think. I don't know. What do you think? Am I looking too into that? Am I reading too much into that? I don't know. I do really like the colors on this. Like I said, that metallic red is just really sharp. It's almost less of a gold and more of a metallic yellow, if that makes any sense. I know that gold is supposed to be metallic yellow, but gold tends to kind of, like actual gold, the actual metal, kind of tends to lean towards the warmer side, and this is just more like a kind of a bright yellow that just happens to be metallic. The shorts look nice dark blue, lots of stars on there. Like George Perez would get a hand cramp trying to draw that many stars. She, of course, has the silver bracelets. They've been silver bracelets ever since the George Perez revamp. And unfortunately, another reason I hate those rubber tabs is you can see that it has made a little bit of a dent in the bracelets. You can see that there is a little bit of a mark where that rubber tab has been sitting, and it looks like, I'm not sure if that's one over here right on the underside of her emblem, put it that way. She does look like Angela White. No, but I'm not sure if that's a mark like I'm looking at, or if that's a wrinkle that's actually sculpted into the corset area, since there are a few wrinkles that are sculpted in here and there. I think the idea is this is supposed to be like kind of a pleather piece with a breastplate over it, although it is very tight fitting. So let's go ahead and go over the articulation before we move on to the accessories. So her head rotates all the way around, which is pretty impressive considering she has all this long hair that kind of cascades over her shoulders and over her clavicle and the collarbone, everything like that. It's pretty amazing to me that I can get that much of a smooth movement when I turn her head all the way around. That is really cool. She can look up about that far, not too far at all. Again, long hair getting in the way. She can look down about that far. So the long hair doesn't really hinder her that much in that regard. So that's good. The arms rotate all the way around at the shoulder, as you would expect. Although this one, it is going to bump into her hair a little bit, kind of knock her head out of joint. We can see not a tight joint at all. That's a pretty loose joint. Hopefully it won't get any looser over time. She does have the butterfly joints, so she can bend her arms in about that far, maybe further if we move them up where her breastplate isn't in the way. So we can get some cool bullets and bracelets kind of poses out of her, can't we? Ping, ping, ping. Nice. Let's see. The arms move up about that far. That is impressive. She's got some really good articulation so far. Does have a bicep swivel, so the bicep does turn all the way around. It does seem to get kind of a little bit gummed up at some points, but it still makes it all the way around, so that's good. Let's see if we can get her arms back down now. She does have the double jointed elbows. Elbows bend up about that far, so pretty cool. She does have the cool Mcfarlane wrist joints, so her wrist rotates all the way around. You can, at the joint, kind of bend it up that way, bend it down that way, move it any which way you want it to. They are really good, these Mcfarlane wrist joints. I'm always a fan of those. So that's it for the arms. Now, while she does have the Mcfarlane, the really nice Mcfarlane waist movement, she does not have the mid-torso articulation. I'm guessing because they figured that would interfere with the sculpting of the bodice. Like, maybe they could have put it right underneath her, right here. Sometimes it's hard to talk about these things without talking about the actual anatomy. I'm not trying to be dirty. I'm really not. But, sometimes you got to mention certain body parts, and those are some of the body parts that, maybe you could have put an articulation there. But I don't know. I think that would have also interfered with the way that it moves around the back part of the bodice. So this is a very well sculpted figure. She's like very well proportioned, very tall, athletic, voluptuous, Amazonian kind of Wonder Woman. This is kind of like my ideal version of the character as far as like the physicality of the character goes. To me, Wonder Woman should be taller than average, and she should be a big gal. She should be, you know, very fit and very statuesque, and they did a really good job with that here. So she's got the rubber trunk portion, like most of these characters have, and it does have some of the awkwardness when you try to move the legs apart. She can do the splits, no problem. Absolutely, she can kick her leg up about that far. The trunks seem to be soft enough; they aren't really interfering with the kick too much. So she can kick a bad guy right straight in their face. I wouldn't leave it like that too long, because then you might bend the trunks out of shape. But it's probably good enough to pose for like a picture or something like that. Leg moves back about that far. Got the double jointed knees. That's about the range of articulation you can get at the knees. She does have these really nice thick thighs. Like I said, very, very athletic type of build. I think they did a good job with that. And then there's no boot cut whatsoever, but she does have the cool Mcfarlane joints at the ankles. So ankle bends down about that far, ankle bends up about that far. And then you can kind of swivel it whichever direction you want to. Very nicely sculpted boots. They've got like a tread to them, less like, a combat boot tread like we see on Batman a lot of the time, but almost more like sneakers, where they kind of wrap around the toes and the back of the heel and everything like that. Pretty cool. All right, so is this one gonna rotate? I do notice that there is a little bit of a color difference in between the plastic that they used for the boot top and the shoe part, the foot, and those both seem to be the same kind of plastic. But since it is a different color plastic at the actual ankle joint, you can even see that on the camera. I think it is like a slightly different shade of red, but I don't think it's that noticeable if you're not really looking. So a very well articulated, very well sculpted, very well painted figure who looks like a certain infamous celebrity that maybe it shouldn't. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but it looks a lot like her. Now, granted, she'd probably be good in the part. If they want to do a movie where she's, some of us wouldn't mind that. I'm just saying, move on to other things. All right, so now that I've got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and re-loop that. There we go. And if I can kind of wedge it into this hook on the side of her belt, I don't know if it's going to have enough tension to hold it in place. It's still going to kind of pop out a little bit there. So probably what I'm going to do is try to get, I think what might be a good solution for that is to actually get some more gold thread and kind of tie a little bit of a loop around it. And that should be enough that I can hang it on her belt while she's on the shelf at least, and not have to worry about it popping off and rolling off. I do like what they tried to do there. I'm gonna be honest. I do appreciate that they tried to give us an old school magic lasso like the old figures came with, but I don't know if they executed it in the best exact way. So let's go ahead and put the other gripping hand on here, and first I'm going to put the shield on her arm, and it does seem like that they made it pretty roomy here. So there she is holding the shield. And then we'll go ahead and put the axe in that hand. We'll see if we can have her holding all three of these weapons at the same time. So there's her axe. And then the sword will go into her right hand. One of those things where, like, just the Mcfarlane figures sometimes they just don't have enough give with the hands. I have a hard time getting the weapons in there. Like, they just don't have enough flex. And I think that, like, it seems like maybe the right hand, they look identical, but maybe the right hand just doesn't have as much space in it. Because I was able to get the axe in this hand pretty easily. I didn't have to struggle with it too much. Come on, you. You're a badass warrior woman. You can hold your sword. You're a modern Wonder Woman. You have to come with a sword. There we go. So there she is, holding all the weapons at the same time. Pretty cool. Although I'm probably not going to display her as holding any of these weapons. But it is nice that she comes with weapons, so you can have the display option for her to be holding her weapons if you like. You can put the solid fists on her. You can put the gripping hands on her. You can put the open hands on her. I think I'm going to leave both the gripping hands on her for now. We'll do another bullets and bracelets kind of pose. Wakanda forever. She was doing that before Black Panther was, though. So, it's, if anything, he ripped her off. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. So you can get her in all kinds of good action positions. The articulation on this figure is excellent. She's beautifully sculpted, beautifully painted. I don't have much bad to say about this figure, and most of the things that I have that are criticisms are just kind of nitpicks or what may or may not be accidental resemblances to certain independent film actresses from Australia. But yeah, very nice figure. Glad to have her in my collection. Like I said, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to find her. So let's compare her to a few more Wonder Woman action figures so that we can get the lay of that. First of all, might as well get this one out of the way. This is the Mcfarlane Gal Gadot Wonder Woman from Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So you can see the differences between the movie version and the comic book version. And they both do still have that same kind of really bright metallic red on the bodice, so that's pretty nice. Gal has a little more like what I'm talking about, where it's more traditional gold. You can see the difference here, whereas hers is a little more bright and yellowy. And I do miss on the movie version her having the stars on her skirt. I think that would have been a nice addition. But I do love my Gal Gadot Wonder Woman figure, but and I probably would have been happy if this was the only Wonder Woman they made. I probably would have been happy with her just being my default Wonder Woman. But if I can have a comic book version of Wonder Woman, I'm going to have a comic book version of Wonder Woman. Speaking of which, here's a couple of more comic book versions of Wonder Woman we can compare her to that I just happen to have handy. And my personal favorite version of the character is Darwin Cooks from New Frontier. And this action figure from DC Direct, I thought represented her beautifully. I think this one came out maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and did a really good job capturing the style of his artwork. I think she's a little shorter than this one, but I think that actually works better in proportion with Mcfarlane figures. Like the Gal Gadot figure and this comic book version, they both seem to be about the same size as Ben Affleck. And I'm fine with that with the modern comic book version. And I'm fine with that with the, if this version, she is supposed to be rather tall in the New Frontier. If she was standing as tall as Ben Affleck, I would not have a problem with that. But we've seen Gal Gadot standing next to Ben Affleck, and frankly, she's not as tall as Ben Affleck in real life, but the action figures are the same exact height. So she's maybe even a little taller if you count her hair. And then lastly, one more figure to compare her with. This is from Mattel, so I've got like three different companies, three different Wonder Woman figures from three different companies to compare to. And this is the one based on Frank Miller's Dark Knight Strikes Again, which is a rather controversial comic book, to say the least. Not the best loved Frank Miller work, but I did really enjoy his design for Wonder Woman, like the curly hair and the kind of more gladiatorial looking look to the tiara and like the sandals and everything like that. And she's got the kind of bike shorts like Mike Sikowski tended to draw with in the 1950s and 60s. So that looks good. I like this figure an awful lot. So yeah, I paid a little bit more for this figure than I would have liked, but it was still worth every penny for me. Like I love Wonder Woman, and I definitely wanted to have her in my collection. The pure comic book version, and this is, I think, about as definitive as Mcfarlane's likely to get with this character. Maybe they might go back and do a Golden Age version, and I hope they do. I would really like to have a first appearance Wonder Woman to go with the first appearance Superman that I already have, and the first appearance Batman that I have pre-ordered on Amazon. I think that those would go nicely together. But I think this one is going to go really nicely on the shelf with. Do I have him around here anywhere? I might have left him. Nope, I got him. Right there he is, right there. My Nightfall Batman. My definitive Bronze Age Bat. She's a little taller than him too. But yeah, my favorite comic book version of Batman they've done so far. I love that Bronze Age look for Batman, and even though she's not really a Bronze Age Wonder Woman, she still looks about right next to him. And whenever I get that classic Superman figure in, I'm guessing all three of them are going to look great together, almost like Superpowers Reborn in 7-inch scale. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Wonder Woman. I hope you enjoyed this review and found it entertaining and informative. This channel is growing. I seem to be getting new subscribers every day. So if you want to catch more of these in the future, make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about this figure and what you think about Wonder Woman in general. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. If you want to be warned anytime I go live, hit that little bell, make sure it turns gray, and that'll make really annoying push notifications come up on your phone, and you'll be like, oh, geez, it's this guy again. And that'll let you know that that I'm actually live. You can participate in the chat if you want. So sometimes people do that. That's fun. I enjoy interacting with people in the chat. So don't be shy if you would like to do that. But that's it for this episode. We will talk to you next time. Bye.